What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Trainer Scoop podcast. I am actually unsure at this time of what episode we're on, so I'm checking that currently. But I'm very happy to be joined once again by my man Hunter. Hunter, glad to have you back, dude. Thanks for popping on.
Good to be back, man. Good to be back.
Yes, sir. Back for episode 59. If only we could have done 10 more
There we go.
episodes and then got to 69, but we'll figure that one
I'll
out.
come back for that one.
You can come back for 69. That'd be awesome. So, yeah, dude, you about to hit the gym? I saw you sipping on some Starbucks.
No, I know if I don't have anything, I won't be energetic at all. I'll just be dead. So
Long day
just
today.
keeping myself awake.
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I had clients this morning and then full day.
yeah. How's it been, man? How's the gym been? How has the position been? What's new?
It's been good. Last couple of weeks have been a little weird, just with like holidays and everybody's obviously traveling. So as you probably know, like training kind of dies down during that time. But obviously, we got New Year's coming up, so everything's gonna pick back up then. So
Hmm.
just kind of embracing it.
Yeah, man. How is the overall like flow of people and flow of clients in the gym? Has it picked up? Is it pretty busy? Is it still in the works? What do you think?
Yeah, so that's kind of one thing that we're kind of figuring out now is like obviously when it comes to a hotel, like you don't get that influx of people just constantly.
Hmm.
So my big thing is like planning for the days that I know people are for sure going to be there, which is obviously like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then everybody leaves typically on a Monday. So like Monday afternoons are usually pretty dead. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are just me kind of getting everything in line for Thursday, Friday, and stuff when everything picks back up. So it's kind of a roller coaster of a week, but it's finally at a point now where it's like I know what's coming.
Yeah, yeah. Man, especially as you're getting started, like that would definitely throw me for a loop. How do you like personally like that kind of like reverse weekend type setup where like the middle of the week is a little bit more dead for you, and then like during the weekend, I imagine you're pretty busy. Like, does that affect like if you ever want to go out or like if you ever have plans, do you just like shift your schedule around or what does that look like?
It does, but it's like I don't know, like typically like when I come in on a Monday, I kind of know that things are going to be, pretty low and we're not going to have a whole lot going on. So that's kind of my time to sit back a little bit. As bad as that sounds, but it is my time to kind of sit back. Whereas like in most jobs, it's like, okay, it's Monday, it's Tuesday, this is what we're doing for the week. This is, what you have to get started. So even though I'm still at work Mondays and Tuesdays, it's not like draining. It's just kind of like, okay, get everything set up.
Hmm.
And then what's nice about Saturdays and Sundays is even though I do come in to like train people, it's not a full scheduled day. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like they'll shoot me a text or an email and it'll be like, so and so wants to be trained at 8:30. Can you make that? And 99% of the time, unless it's like, obviously this past weekend with holidays and stuff, 99% of the time I can come in and then I just kind of go there for my session. And then if there's somebody else still there, they want me to stick around for them, I can do that. But it is pretty flexible in a sense that I'm not there for the entire day. It's just that session, and then I can kind of go about my business. But
Yeah.
the only thing that's been kind of weird is if like I do have like a plan for like a Saturday night or something like that, and
Hmm.
then we get somebody that texts like I don't know Saturday night at like 7:30, and they're like, oh, they want to come in at 7 tomorrow for a session, on a Sunday. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll be there, but like, damn.
Oof. Oof. So are you like, do you have to go in and get those sessions, or is it just like, oh, I might need the extra spending money, I'll go ahead and do it? Or is it like, yeah, like you have to?
Yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, it also depends on, this is kind of horrible to say, but it kind of depends on who the client is. just because we do get like such high level people. Like obviously, like some big star comes in, you're not going to turn down that opportunity just
Right.
because it is, they're not the opportunity to put your face in front of them and get your name out there. But there are definitely times where I've been like, hey, we had a busy week, or maybe we didn't have a busy week, and it's just like I'm not coming in for one session. Like if we have two sessions, sure, I'll come in and do some back to backs, but if it's just like one random Sunday afternoon and the Browns are playing,
Right.
maybe not.
Right. Have you trained any like notable names thus far?
So I got to work with Red Hot Chili Peppers a little bit. That was pretty
Dope.
cool. And then Jack Harlow came in. I didn't get to train him, but I got to kind of help him around because he
That's
was
pretty
pretty new
dope.
to our space. Yeah, and then so that was the weekend or the week of my birthday, and I was talking to him a little bit. And one, I didn't realize how damn young he is. Like he's younger than me. He's only like 23, 24.
Yeah.
It seems like he's been around for a minute, but so I got
Dude,
to
I
talk with
went
him a little
back
bit.
on a fucking Jack Harlow deep dive. This dude probably started like making like high profile YouTube videos when he was like 17, and he just looks so fucking young. Like he looks like
And
those
Goofy
those motherfuckers you see in the gym these days. Maybe he started that trend with the fucking
with the curly hair, and
curly
yeah,
hair. Yeah, bro. Super skinny like, but honestly, he's been good for a minute. So, okay, my bad. Continue because this is a dope
you're
story.
good. You're good, man. No, it's funny because like I didn't know he was coming in that week. Typically, we get like a sheet of like everybody that's coming in, but he wasn't on there. And I had actually been listening to some of his songs that morning, and he came in and he was just wearing like a white wife beater and he's sponsored by New Balance, so he's got like decked out in New Balance. I got to talking to him a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, like, what are you doing after work?" And I was like, "Nothing. I get done at 5:30, like, and then I'm just gonna go home." He goes, "You want to go to my show?" I'm like,
That's dope.
"Of course, I want to go to your show, man." So he ended up, he was like, "Just give my name." He's like, "Just give me your name. I'll give it to my manager. And then when you get there, just go up to the booth, show them your ID, and they'll have like an envelope with some tickets in it for you." And so
Hell
like
yeah.
that's freaking sweet. And I was like, holy shit, like this is happening. And I asked this one girl to go with me, and we got there, and I was like, all right, listen, he said there's going to be tickets, but like it's Jack Harlow, so
Yeah.
he's got a lot going on. Like if there's not tickets, don't get pissed at me. And sure enough, went up there, they like looked at my ID, they're like, oh yeah, of course, hand it back to me. I get like a little envelope, it's got my name across the front, 3 tickets, and they were like stage seats. I was like 20 feet from the stage. It was nuts.
Bro, that's wild. That's
Yeah, it was
dope.
crazy.
Yo, okay, so for anyone that is probably, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Hunter was on, I believe it was like episode 52.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, yeah. 51 or 52. And yeah, tell them a little bit about where you work at, like in Nashville. Like tell them this hotel gym situation real quick. Give the 30-second
Yeah, no
recap
problem.
because we went into it.
Yeah, no problem. So I work for a company called One Hotels. They're partnered with another gym, which is called Anatomy. We're right downtown Nashville. We're brand new. We just opened July 28th, so we've only been open for a couple months. But essentially, whenever there's a concert or there's a big event coming to Nashville, more than likely whoever's there is staying at One Hotels. They're just very high end, very luxury. We're not huge. We only have probably 200 rooms total, but anybody who's anybody is staying at One Hotels. Like we've had, like I said, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jack Harlow, Post Malone. We've had a couple, and it's funny because like sometimes I'll never even see these people. Like I'll just get like the list. I'm like, oh, like Alex Rodriguez was here this week. I didn't know that. Like just crazy stuff like that. And sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. But basically we just have a full size gym, and if they come in, I can train them. If not, it's just another day at the office.
Hmm. Yeah, dude. That's dope. And I'm sure over the man, it's been about what, 2, 3 months since we did that podcast. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's been good to kind of get your feet under you more and keep growing that, because it's a really cool position with like a lot of responsibility from the way it seems. So like, yeah, dude, something to be proud of, and I'm sure you're killing it, man.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing is just like getting used to talking to like very famous people
Mm-hmm.
and not having like any nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first couple that come in, you're just like, oh shit, like that's, whoever it is. And you wouldn't think it would be that big of a deal, but it just because like they're put on such a pedestal, you're just like, don't fuck up. Like,
Dude, that's
so
hilarious. I've had one, and this is gonna sound so fucking stupid. I've had one like starstruck, like nervous moment, and then like ever since then, never have. But I was like kind of like nervous. Do you know Mark Bell?
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I met him. He was like probably one of the biggest people out there in fitness in like 2015 at the Arnold. I met him and I was
Hmm.
like, I was just a little nervous. It was the first time I was ever at the Arnold. I was young, just getting into lifting. Everybody's huge. And ever since then, man, I never have really had that, but like I'll never forget it. It's like a certain feeling that you just kind of gotta like navigate through, because you sound like an
Yeah,
idiot.
your voice is like shaking. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. You sound so stupid. And they're just like, hey, it's all good, man. Like, just you're fine. And so did that ever happen to you?
Oh yeah, like Jack Harlow was probably the one, like, because he was probably like the first like really big name that we had come in,
Hmm.
and like it's different for me if it's like somebody I actually listen to. Like we've had country music stars come in, but I don't really listen to their music that much.
Hmm.
And so it's like, oh, that's them. That's cool. Whatever. But like him, like I had just been listening to his songs that morning. And like so when I walked in for that one, I'm like, oh shit. Like that's different. Like that's
That's
very
crazy.
different. So yeah, that was definitely
what was the best
good.
song that he performed at the concert?
Oh man. Um that's another thing. So he performed for like 2.5 hours. Like he
Damn.
performed almost every song that he's ever made. It was nuts. But his older stuff, I think it's Sundown. That
Hmm.
was one of the ones
That's a
because that
banger.
song has such like a just a such a good bass on it that like everybody was just going nuts for that. So
Hmm.
that was probably my favorite one.
That's dope, dude. Yeah. Yeah, man. Good to check in. Good to hear about it. Sounds like it's going well. It's only going to get better from here too. So dope. But yeah, bro, let's move on to the main purpose of this episode, which is talking about the Olympia, man. What we're like
Under three
basically,
weeks.
yeah, like 2.5 weeks out. And Hunter and I are about to head out to Vegas for the Olympia. Unfortunately, we did not pull the trigger on tickets. We waited too long, and then those things were like fucking $500 for the nosebleed seats. But we'll be there. We'll be chilling. Maybe, at the Arnold bodybuilding show last year, they didn't even check for tickets. I paid $80 for
Yeah.
nothing. So like, who knows, Maybe we'll be in the area. Maybe who knows. But yeah, dude, I can't even remember at this point. How did we decide to go out to Vegas? Were we just like, fuck it, like talking about it, let's go? I can't even remember.
Uh I was thinking about it and then you posted something about somebody competing. Or no, it might have been something with RP
Yeah.
and
Okay.
because I think you did like you did that shoot out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Do you want like?" Because you were out there for that, and I was like, "Shit, you want to go in a couple months?" And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Are you serious?" I was like, "Absolutely, I'm serious." I was like, "That's gonna be awesome," and cut the cost in that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. It just worked out perfectly. We're both, I feel like you're definitely one of the bigger fans of bodybuilding in my friend group, and just worked out perfectly, man. So it's gonna be a very, very cool weekend. Like being from Ohio, of course, we've all experienced the Arnold and
Yeah,
that expo that is. And of course, like I think the expo maybe back in its peak, definitely not this year. In its peak, that
no,
Arnold expo might have been like a bigger deal than the Olympia expo, but the Olympia show blows the Arnold out of the water for the most part, because you literally have the top names,
yeah.
best of the best bodybuilders. So yeah, dude, like what are you most excited about for that weekend?
Honestly, like I don't know if you can kind of relate with this, but like obviously you have like your little circle of people like in your community that they kind of understand what you're talking about when it comes to like bodybuilding or fitness and stuff like that. But it's not like a huge thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not surrounded by that a ton. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have, maybe an hour, couple hours a day where you could actually be around people that kind of know like what you're talking about. Otherwise they look at you like I don't care. Like I don't sorry, don't care. But I'm excited to be around like everybody that's there for that purpose. It's like to be around like so many like-minded individuals. That's going to be awesome. And then obviously this year's Olympia is just different. Like I think there's like 36 competitors or something like that. So it's going to be one of the best Olympias maybe ever. And just to check that out, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, that's what, you know, one like thing that comes to mind of like why people love certain things like that so much would be like Comic-Con, right? It's like a similar level of niche, right? Like
Oh yeah,
there's just
100%.
there's just not too many people out there that like get into it the way that we get into it. And I've only been really into following bodybuilding for like the past like year, maybe even like past 11 months. But yeah, man, it is like a whole like you can get into levels of discussion that no one would really understand. And like following the storylines all year, we both probably follow different podcasts, different YouTube channels that like have just built it up to like this point. And it's really cool to be going out there, seeing things, seeing like people that are kind of like we said, like I mean, I don't really get starstruck, but it's really cool to see the figures that we've been watching videos and listening about like the whole fucking year. So it'll be sweet.
Oh, 100%. It's like you said, it's like with like a Comic-Con or something like that. It's very underground. It's very cultish in a sense that like you maybe know a few people that know of it, but then you maybe know even fewer people that actually like know what they're talking about when it comes to it. And then
Hmm.
if you talk to them about it, they're like, "Oh shit, like you're going to that this year? That's gonna be awesome."
Hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, dude. I think for me, like it's I want to say one of the last like cool fitness experiences that I'll get to experience for the first time is going to
Hmm.
this. Like, I mean, everybody probably remembers the first time they went to the Arnold if you're around the Midwest. Like, it's like a cool experience. Like, you just get this feeling of excitement. So I'm really, really excited to see what it is out there in Las Vegas because the gym scene just runs so deep, man. Like, I'm
And
trying to
it's a good
figure
excuse to go to Vegas.
right, get some warm weather, get some drinks, get some games going and all that. Dude,
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out where we're gonna get a lift. Like, I was thinking about that, like Googling all these places because I already know Dragon Slayer is gonna be too. It's gonna be wild, bro. Might
Oh yeah,
stop by Dragon Slayer, but if you're trying to get a lift in, it's gonna be
yeah,
nuts because that place is not that big and everybody's gonna be out there.
yeah. There's a few places like the Lift Factory and some
Mm-hmm.
other places like that. But it's like even when I think about those, I'm like, okay, everybody's gonna be like Dragon's Lair's packed. Where are we going next?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then and then you're just kind of like going down the line of like, okay, maybe this one won't be crazy, but who
Hey, bro,
knows?
even Planet Fitness is gonna be fucking crazy. You know what we're gonna do? This is our last plan right here. We'll go to the Walmart that's close to the strip. We'll just go get the fucking kettlebells and the 25-pound dumbbells, 45-pound plates, and we'll fucking wrap it out, baby. Throwing that shit across the
Yeah,
Walmart.
everything that's on the clearance rack.
Yes, yes. Nah, man, but I'm sure we'll have a good time out there. And like you said, like it's the most stacked lineup maybe ever, definitely in our lifetime. Like the 90s
Hmm.
and probably the early 2000s were like real stacked too. And you just had the absolute legends back then, but like man, do you want to talk about real quick, like why, for those who don't really follow it super closely, why this Olympia is like so fucking crazy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, like the big thing is obviously, with COVID these past couple of years, everything's just been kind of getting pushed back. So this year, I think they had like 14 months or something like that in between the two Olympiads, or it was something ridiculous. So they had so many extra qualifying shows. Now, typically that wouldn't sound like such a big deal, but when you get 36 guys, you're getting 36 of the best in the world. So that's, 36 opportunities to put your name in the hat. And then on top of that, it's like you look at, like you said, like the 90s and the early 2000s and all that stuff. Bodybuilding was big, but there's more competitors now than there's ever been. So, I mean, even if you say, like, oh, well, there's not like a Ronnie Coleman or a Jay Cutler or a Dorian Yates or something like that, maybe not at the very top, but if you look from, you know, first place to 15th place, they're going to be all so close. It's going to be ridiculous. So there's just way more numbers, way more quality all the way down the line. And obviously, like, not everybody's going to show up at their best, but even if half of them do, that's bonkers. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the majority of it.
Yeah, dude. And I think like like we were kind of talking earlier, like the storylines this year are, I mean, once again, this is the first year I've really followed it, but like there's a lot of little rivalries. There's a lot of little like, oh, like this person will probably jump this person, or like, oh, last year this person got screwed. Let's see what they do in response to this year. Like there's a lot of little intangibles and fun things to follow along with that as well. That I think kind of like differentiate this one. Um, a lot of type of stories like with Big Ramy, last year he got first and he didn't even really have a great training year. Like he only trained a couple months out of the year, like was having some
Right.
issues personally, I think it was. So like to know that I think most everyone, of course stuff will come out, but like everyone's been training their ass off for these past 14 months. Well, 14 months was kind of like the earliest point that some of them qualified. And then ever since then, they've been qualifying and training their asses off. So it's gonna be a different level of competitors this year. And yeah, man. Maybe, you said a really good point where like there's no like absolute legends, but maybe this is the year where we see that start to emerge where like shit, maybe someone in this lineup, I'm looking over at my top 10, maybe someone really starts cementing their path to be a legend. Like you never know. So a lot of cool factors that make this one a special show, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And to kind of piggyback off that, it's also weird too because, previous to Big Ramy, I think he's won two in a row now. And then previous to that, it was Brandon Curry. And then previous to that, it was Sean Roden. Previous to that, it was Phil Heath. But once you get at Phil Heath, he won seven in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then, previous, like, you typically the champion wins for like years on end. So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that we've had, three different Mr. Olympias in a span of like, 6 years or whatever it's been, that's not normal. Like typically you have that long reigning champion. So if somebody does come in and shake it up again, that's their opportunity to kind of put their best foot forward and start that reign. So it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, dude, that's a good point. Well, shit, you want to do these top tens?
Sure.
Do you have yours written out, or are you going off the dome?
I have my top six written out,
Yeah.
but I could definitely do the next couple off the dome. You
Okay.
want me to go first?
Yeah. Do you want to start at 10 or start at 1?
I'll probably start at one.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll go first, and whatever we do, we can't change our pick based on the other person. That's the rule.
Got it.
Go for it, dude.
All right. So this is already so hard. Like
Yep.
I I don't know. I am a very big believer in Nick Walker, and he is a freak, and he improves every single year. Structurally, is he the most pretty? No, but he's a freak. And I don't know if you saw the story that Matt Jansen put up today of his backlash spread.
I didn't see it.
It was bonkers.
I have
And
to look it up.
typically that's a pose that he's, struggled with pretty heavily. And I think, they said he's weighing like 265 right now, and last year this time he was like 250, and he looks like he's in just as good a shape. And like I said, structurally not the prettiest, but I think he's the most complete out of everybody, other than maybe Hadi. And I just, for me, Rami's the biggest and he's the widest and all that, but he just has too many holes. Like his quads are gigantic, but it makes everything else look a little bit off. And then his back is kind of lacking. And then but like in a back lat spread, he's white as a house. So it doesn't matter. Like it's just too many which ways. And then, of course, with him, we don't ever know if he's coming in shape. So my number one is Nick Walker. Do you want me to just continue to go down the list?
Nah, I'll go. I'll go for my one. Then we go 1,
All
1,
right.
2, 2, so on and so forth. All right, man. I was not expecting that. I will say, um, that could be a big one though. Maybe you should put money on it. Going to Vegas. You could be
Hey, I
rich.
could get down with that. I could
You
get
could get
down with that.
rich. I am going for the very safe bet for my number one, which is Big Rami. You mentioned a lot of the pros as well as a few cons. I think what's it called? I guess the hierarchy of like winners will prevail. You mentioned like for years and years, you'll see a winner that wins multiple years in a row. That's one thing I don't necessarily love about bodybuilding, but there is like a little bit of like a gentleman's agreement where like you are more likely to win if you've won before and you've defended your title, or like if it's tied between like 1 and 2, the person who's won in the past will edge them out for no other reason that they won. The dude is just big as fuck. And you mentioned exactly what my rationale was. Coming in better this year, I really do think he is. He hasn't posted in a minute, but I think that's just because he's pretty locked in. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, I'm gonna go for Rami, number one. Just a massive human being, and I think he's gonna get it 3-peat.
Yeah, so I got him at number two, and honestly, I could be eating my words when we get to Vegas. I wouldn't be surprised. He does look like he's in better shape than he's ever been, but like I said, the only thing with him is like it's just if you look at a sense of completeness, which is kind of what I look at, I think he has some holes, but he's just so damn big. Like it, you look at him next to like Hadi, and Hadi's wide as shit, but he looks like a child next to him. It's like it doesn't even make sense. I do if he, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins, but I have him in second. He does look like he's in better shape than he's ever been, which honestly, can't say much because it's like Instagram only tells so much. So I got him in second, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. My second place actually changed today. Um, and I believe, actually, I can't remember what he placed last year, so I'm not going to say that. But I have Brandon Curry in second, man. He did not come in well at the Arnold. I didn't think he deserved to win the Arnold, but
No,
I think he's going to bring it. Dude has probably the most like pretty like bodybuilder-esque aesthetic physique. And that's why I think he's gonna get number 2 at the Olympia specifically. You know, granted that he does improve the lack of conditioning that was at the Arnold. Um, just seeing him more and more recently because he's been so silent throughout the prep. Seeing him more and more recently, I'm like, wow, he's fucking big. Um, and I think with what happened at the Arnold, with him getting so much criticism that William Bonac should have beat him, I think that he took that personally, and I think he's gonna get second, man. I do.
yeah. Did you see him on Fuad's freaking podcast? His head looked like it
Yeah,
was gonna pop off because his shoulders were so damn big.
shoulders were just capped, massive.
He was
Yeah,
just chilling.
you never know what's underneath the shirt, and I think like an aside thing is and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe for black bodybuilders the conditioning part can be tough, like whatever
Yeah,
genetic.
it's like it's a skin thing. Some some of them seem to have thicker skin,
Hmm.
at least in like the rear poses. Like Akeem Williams has always struggled because his I don't know if it's his lower back or what, it just doesn't get that same like dryness that he gets from the front. And then same thing with like Samson, he kind of has a similar issue. But I also think too, it's like a thing of when they put the tan on and then they're under the lights, they're already dark, and it just kind of, I don't know, the shadows kind of cover some of that.
Mm.
Because I know like Terrence Ruffin had the same thing at last year's Arnold, which it didn't matter anyways because he was just on point. But in some shots, they were like, oh, like, is he kind of fading here? Is he, soft here? It's like, no, it's just the shadows and how dark it is. Like, you just can't see it. But
Mm.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like they like black bodybuilders definitely have like extremely full physiques most times. Like they just look fucking massive, but like there's some variables that come into play there. So I do think he's gonna pull it off for second. What you got for third, man?
Yeah. Third, I have Hottie. Um, the only reason I don't have Brandon is because one, Hottie's legs I think are superior, and then two, I think it is kind of a thing of where if the first one's, you know, a monster, mass monster, not really a shape guy. Second one, even bigger mass monster, nicer shape, but Rami is what he is. He's freaking gigantic. He's like an 11 out of 10 in size. I think they're going to still stick with that more traditional bodybuilder esque physique. So with Hottie, I just think he doesn't really miss a mark ever. And I know last year he had like some visa issues or something like that, but he's also been in the US for like the past 3 weeks or something. So him coming to the US 6 weeks out, I think will play a big part. But I got him in third.
Yeah, dude. I also have Hottie in third. As a quick aside, did you see the videos that he did with Hani and Chris Bumstead?
I caught some of the highlights. I didn't watch the whole thing though.
Yeah, man, he's just trying to think like what exactly captures it, man. He's just so like he will be so conditioned. He already looks super conditioned and in shape. And like you said, his back is just insane. The legs are like the way he trains legs was just fucking wild. Like and man, like it's a testament to his work ethic. Like I think Hani purposely has to kind of like dumb down and
Reel
make
him
the
in.
training, yeah, make the training easier because they went like Smith machine squat to hack squat to leg press to leg extension to walking lunge, and he was walking lunging like 275 or something easily. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Legs are on another level. Um, man, like always big on the conditioning and looking peeled. Um, I don't know what it is about him. Maybe it's just his frame that only lets him be like, I think they're predicting him to be like 230, 240 on stage. That's probably his big Achilles heel is just the ability to pack on as much mass as some of the other guys. But you do have to take the fact that he's probably going to be the most conditioned or, top two most conditioned guys out there if
Right.
I were to guess. So, yeah, man, I agree with that. I also have Hadi at third.
Yeah. And then let's see, fourth, I got Brandon. Um, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. He's a former Mr. Olympia. Like we said, he looked big as shit this year. Um, the only thing it's difficult with Brandon because it's like his legs from the side don't look small. In certain front poses, they don't look small, but when he turns around, they look instead of having like that X frame, he has more of a Y frame.
Hmm.
And I just think, especially if they're going to go with those three bigger guys, which I think they will, I think he's kind of the odd man out, but he's also so good that you're not going to drop him to like sixth or seventh or something like that. You have to keep him in your top five. So I think he'll come in fourth, but I, again, wouldn't be surprised if he ends up all the way up in first. So,
Yeah. So it's funny. It's like our top four just kind of like switch in order because at
Hmm.
fourth, I have Nick Walker. And man, like you said, like Nick is on another level this year. So I definitely think he's sliding up. Was it sixth place last year or fifth place that Nick got?
Fifth or sixth, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And I think just man, like I think his pick today was an ab shot. This dude's abs. Even like, did you go to the Arnold last year for the
Um,
show?
yes.
They look even crazier in person. And I think that just goes, I mean, it goes for all these guys, but like Nick looks crazy in person. The dude is just massive. Like his conditioning is going to be there. Um, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if Nick broke top three, but I felt real safe and confident putting him at four.
Hmm.
So, yeah, dude. I mean, you said everything to a T. Like, I mean, I feel like this, if he can like break that top five this year, it's gonna start to cement the legend of Nick Walker. So I'm excited to see him do well. Love that dude. He's like probably my favorite bodybuilder. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's so funny when you see him in person. Like one, you don't realize like how short he is until you stand next to him or something like that. But then you look at his arm and you're like, that's the size of my waist. Like that's not normal at all.
Dude, funny ass story, real quick. I have these pictures. I posted them a long time ago. So when I went out to New Jersey, I used to live in New Jersey for people who don't know. So I didn't just go out for the hostile meet and greet, but like I went to go see some friends, went to go see the hostile meet and greet. And Nick was out there. And the dude, Pat, that owns Aries Nutrition, who hosted the event, he was like, yeah, dude, you want me to just take your phone and grab a whole bunch of pictures? I was like, dude, that'd be sweet. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, ex-girlfriend, and I was like, damn, I hope he doesn't see your nudes. And he's just like taking pictures, taking pictures. And we got a picture of me, her, and Nick. And Nick's like, oh, you got nudes? And she's like, what the fuck? Like, God, I hope they don't see my nudes. And like the picture is just
Right.
me sitting in the middle. I'm just like cheesing hard. And then Nick's like, oh, you got nudes? And she's like, what the fuck? So like he's cool as fuck too, dude. I really hope that
Yeah,
he does well.
he's so goofy, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. What you got for five? This is where I feel like we might differ right here.
In five, I got Bonac.
No
I
shit,
think,
I do too. Fuck. All right, never mind.
yeah, I think his, I don't know, it was between him and Hunter, but I feel his Arnold look was better than Hunter's Olympia look.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Hunter's a lot bigger this year, hopefully coming in with better condition. But I just think Bonac looks so much improved. And the fact that most people will go and say he should have beat Brandon at the Arnold, and Brandon was second or third last year. So I mean, it's bodybuilding math, which doesn't mean jack shit. But to me, I just think he's going to be back up in that top five this year.
Yeah, dude. Seeing Bonac at the Arnold was super impressive. And, you know, he's just been training since then. So it's hard for me to believe that they would fuck it up. And he definitely, I think, oh, wait, no, no, no. He went and won Boston like the next weekend
Yeah,
after, or like 2 weeks after the Arnold. So he won it pretty easily, in my opinion. Because I remember
yeah.
that's one of the shows that I actually like bought the show and watched that.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, I'm with you. I thought we were for sure gonna. People sleep on Bonac in general. Like, I
It's
think,
because he's not flashy. He doesn't post anything. He just
yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah. So I'm with you, man. He looks super impressive. Like, just a great physique overall. I don't really know what he lacks. Maybe it's just overall size, but like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's really the only thing I can think of.
yeah. I just think I think he's maxed out, but I think it's just because he's such a compact person
Yeah,
that he has nowhere else for it to go. Like if he had wider shoulders, then maybe he could look bigger on stage, or if he had a smaller waist, then it would accentuate things more. But he's just with what he's got, you can't really do much more with it.
did he used to do 212?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I
Because
thought.
he's a shorter guy too. Yeah, he might be shorter than like maybe even Nick. I think he and Hottie are probably like the same height.
Yeah, dude. Really fucking short for everyone
Yeah.
else. All right, man. What you got for sixth?
6, I got Hunter. I don't think he'll be. I don't know what it is. I have a hard time seeing him being peeled. And I know he's working with Ben this year, and hopefully it'll be better. But there's just something about his physique. It's like he always kind of holds a little bit of water, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he's so big and round, but I can't see him being super peeled. But he's also a gigantic dude. He's freaking very complete. And then the other thing is that pec tear that he has. And I know they haven't really penalized him for it. I mean, he got fourth last year or something like that. Like, but I just think with everybody else being so good this year, I think he will drop a little bit. Um, but I don't think they're going to let him drop that far, like 2 places max. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you brought up a good point with like the strength of the lineup. That went into my decision as well. Lineup's just way stronger this year. Um, I don't know if you heard the podcast, the Hostile podcast a while back. I want to say 2 or 3 episodes ago, where Fuad was saying like he is one individual in particular where photos don't do him justice.
Mm-hmm. I did see that. Yeah.
So like I believe that. Also, I think that Fuad embellishes shit just from the way I hear him talking. Man, I like especially a couple weeks ago, he looked like I was like, oh fuck, like that's gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
problem. Hard to say. Maybe photos really don't do him justice, especially now that we're getting close. It'll be telling. So I
Yeah. Is
feel
it
I
just me,
feel
or does he seem like his pictures don't get like drastically better? He just looks always in pretty good shape.
yeah, I noticed that because like I follow him, but like it just doesn't really draw me to like click on his page. Like I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like sometimes like Samson, I'll be like, oh fuck, and I'll click on him.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's certain individuals like that where I want to go and like compare him. I just never get that. I've also had other people tell me they don't like Hunter. I'm like, why the fuck do you not like Hunter? What did he ever do? So
Yeah.
that's like he's just a
I don't
slept on
know.
dude a little bit maybe too. But
Yeah, I think it's partly because he doesn't really want to play like the game of like popularity. I think he just
mhm,
wants to do his thing and move along. But because he is so good, like he gets put out there all the time, and
mhm,
obviously having his dad, previous to him, it's kind of hard not to be put out there. So I think people just kind of hate that. But yeah, I don't know. He's one of those guys like if you look at Nick's off-season physique, you're like, holy shit, Nick is off-season. Like he's gigantic. And then Hunter's big, but like when I look at his off-season physique and then I look at him 8 weeks out from the Olympia, I'm like, he's leaner, but like it's not like, you know, if you put them side by side, it'd be like, yeah, maybe that one's off season. Like I
yeah. I know what you mean. Might have something to do with like his complexion too, kind of like plays games with the way you see him.
mm-hmm,
But yeah, dude,
mm-hmm.
I think it's a safe bet to put him at six. What you got for seven?
7, I have Ian. He's forever gonna be 7.
Yep. I feel like both you and I might have been influenced by the fact that they always say he's fucking seventh, but like it's hard to know where to put you in.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy. He's not gonna be the prettiest up there, but he's always gonna be in shape. He's always getting better. And like if you look at pictures of like his front lat or like his back lat or anything like that, he is so wide. It is absurd. Like
Mm-hmm.
his clavicle width has to be like 4 feet wide. It's ridiculous. So I think once we get into the 7, 8, 9 area, I think because he's so diced all the time and he's not really missing anything other than calves, but nobody gives a shit about calves, obviously. Um, I think that's just kind of where he's going to fall.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the overall just mass that he's put on this past year is crazy. Like he's definitely made some improvements. There's no
Hmm.
doubt about that. Especially from the 2021 Arnold was the first time I ever, well, it was the only time I'd ever seen him in person. Like
Hmm.
from then to now, I'm like, wow, that is some significant progress. Also, he looks like he's going to be pretty conditioned. Um, he's looking great in the photos so far. But yeah, like you said, like not the prettiest physique out there. There are some, slight things that just I think genetically don't play to his
Yeah,
favor. So that's why I got him at 7, man. That's funny. They say what
yeah,
he's like the gatekeeper of that top 6 breaking through that. So
yeah. Well, if you saw that one episode where they were like picking out lineups from like the old Olympias, and they were like, "Oh, where would Ian be?" And it was like seventh in every single one.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They were like, damn it, we can't fucking help him escape from 7th. But I
Yeah,
mean, not a bad place to be with this lineup. So what you got for
no, not
8?
at all. Eight, I have Samson.
Shut the bro. I swear to God, we have the same. We didn't talk about this. I thought for sure we were gonna have a different 8. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah, he's so big, and he's just got like a freaking beautiful looking physique. Like everything's there. Back probably can still be improved, but even with his back, it's not necessarily like the detail of anything. I just think it's like his lat width. It's just when he does like a back double by, it kind of comes in a little bit too much, which that's like really nitpicking.
Hmm.
Um, but everything else, his freaking quads are like the size of like a horse leg. It's not even funny. Like it's too damn big. I just think he's going to be probably the best he's ever been. But kind of how we said earlier, how you kind of have to like earn your stripes before they just start putting you up in that top five. I think that'll be kind of his thing is like he'll be earning his stripes by getting eighth. And then going from there, obviously these next couple of years, I think he'll really start to move up once he's got that secured. But for this year, I think he's going to be an eighth.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely hit a lot of the things that went into my mind when I was considering this. Like, yeah, dude, the chest and shoulders are just phenomenal. Like you said, quads. So it flows so well. I hadn't thought about what you said with like the lats. But man, I can see it. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't seen a ton of his back shots. But that's a good point. I think it could be hit or miss if he's like really dialed in on conditioning. I don't know if this is the first like big time show he's done with Milos. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he did the
I think
Arnold
he
with
did.
him.
I think he did the Arnold and Boston show. And the Boston, he looked good at the Arnold, but he looked really good at the Boston show.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's another thing though, is like they've had so much time in between those two that it's like, if you didn't make improvement in between there, good luck.
Yeah, 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 dude. That is, and like you said when we DM'd in the past, like Samson might even be the dark horse that if everything goes perfectly, like the peak goes perfectly, with as pretty of a physique that he has and the size that he has, he might even be way higher than 8th. So that'll be
Well, he
that'll be
looks he
interesting to
looks like
see.
a bigger Flex Wheeler. He's like if Flex Wheeler was like 6 foot.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like I'd say maybe like 95% of Flex Wheeler at that bigger frame, like that combination of those two, it's
Hmm.
dangerous. It has potential for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then number nine, I got Derek Lunsford. I don't feel like they would let him fall out of the top 10. I think he's going to look really good. Um, it's I don't think it's a question of whether or not he'll be in shape because he's working with Hani, so Hani's always got everybody in shape. But I do think it'll be kind of a balancing game of how big are they going to bring him in because it is the Olympia, everybody's huge, and he is coming from 212. And I don't know how tall he is. I mean, obviously he's going to be one of the shorter guys there, but I don't know if he was like a tall 212er or if he was just like, 5'5" or whatever. So I do think he'll look great, but I think standing next to some of those other guys, he might get overshadowed a little bit just because they are going to have anywhere from 30 to 50 pounds on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my thought with Derek. Just historically, it's really tough for people to go from 212 to the open and be really successful in their first year. Like it's doable over time, but like to do it well in a 1 year span, I don't know if that's possible. It might be, but they were talking heavily about how good he looked in Pittsburgh, but like that was clear, and he did look in shape, but that was clearly off season, and he
Right.
was like 260 then, I want to say, and some of these guys will be stepping on the stage at 260. So
Right.
I think you brought up all valid points. My number 9 is slightly different, however, and it's a wild card. I wanted to do one wild card in here, and that is Andrew Jacked. Historically, Andrew Jacked has let us down because I think it was like Texas where he easily won, right? Maybe not easily, but he decisively won. And they were like,
Hmm.
oh, this is like 75%. And then the Arnold UK, he still won, but he didn't improve. I think he's definitely improved. The question will be how much has he improved to see if he
Hmm.
makes it into this top 10. I'm thinking, I watched recent episodes, and once again, like Flex Lewis has a way of like hyping people up and speaking in a certain way that like you're like, I don't know, dude, are you really for real? Flex
Right.
Lewis hypes the fuck out of Andrew Jack.
I saw that.
Regardless, Andrew Jack is an extremely impressive physique. Um, if he brings a conditioning, once again, top 10 it's got to be there in my opinion.
Yeah.
But will he bring the conditioning is the thing, because historically, I don't know if it's just been a struggle to figure out what works or if he hasn't, gotten to that place where he can do it personally. I think if he can do it though, he'll be top 10, and that's why I have him at that number 9 spot, is because there's some uncertainty of his ability to bring that conditioning.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear you on that. So everything you just said, spot on, and that's why I have him at number 10. So
Okay.
he he's another one. I can't see them dropping him much further than that,
Yeah.
just because of what he is. And I mean, he won the Texas show, he won the Arnold. Like realistically, people that win two shows probably aren't dropping, too far out of the top 10. So I think what he really has on his side is everything flows together, and it just looks like if you were to take just his silhouette, like take away like all the stuff, just have like a black silhouette, that's what a bodybuilder would probably look like. So I can see him, being as high as, 6 or something like that if he's in shape, but we don't know. So I have him in 10.
Yeah, dude. And I have Derek Lunsford in 10th. So we just kind of flip flopped. I think we had all of the same picks, just in slightly different order. I don't think there's
Right.
anyone outside of that, which is pretty funny. Um,
Yeah.
hmm, that's weird. We didn't even collaborate. It just fucking happened. Um, yeah, dude, that was pretty cool. That was a fun exercise. Um, I don't know, man. Do you have anything else to talk about in the Olympia, or do you want to hit on some of the questions that we got real quick?
We could do some questions.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you're at the Olympia and you see us, or if you somehow want to fucking reach out and see us at the Olympia, hit us up. We'll be out and about.
Buy me a drink.
So, yeah, buy him a drink. Did you get any like really good questions that you want to talk about? Because I really only got one question that I want to talk about.
Um, as far as training goes, I had one or two, and then I had one kind of funny one. But
Bro, you get some fucking horny questions on this. So for those who aren't watching, we are on that not gonna lie app where you can anonymously ask questions on Instagram. And I get my fair share of passes made at me on NGL, but Hunter's is like next level. Like, are you a freak? Like that was one
I
the
get
other
that
day,
one
right?
like every single time, and I think it's the same person.
Probably. But yeah, dude, go ahead and hit us with the question. We will both answer.
Yeah. So the first one was just somebody asked me, what are your thoughts on reps in reserve? So I know it's pretty broad, but just kind of like maybe talk about how you use them or if you use them, and then kind of how you use them for, programming somebody else or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So me personally, I am a fan of reps in reserve or RIR. I do use that pretty heavily. There's pros and cons to it, right? I think a lot of people, the biggest con is a lot of people can't gauge how many reps in reserve they're training to accurately. It takes a long, long time to be able to do that. I know that I'm probably not even perfect at it. And this training event that I'm going to be doing on Thursday before the Olympia with the RP crew will definitely be a humbling and informative experience because they're probably going to just put us through the absolute ringer, and I'll be able to have a whole new gauge of reps in reserve. Um, Reps in reserve from a theoretical standpoint is a great way to structure a mesocycle when you're focusing on progressive overload because you want to start out. I believe the biggest advantage of starting out kind of on more reps in reserve, like I'll start out with 3 reps in reserve, is because when you start a new program, you have the novel stimulus of exercises that you might not do frequently. If you've ever just done a completely different routine of new exercises, like let's say you typically do leg extensions, you do back squats, you do hamstring curls for a leg day. But if let's say you switch that up to hack squats, leg press, and like a machine good morning, the novel stimulus of those new exercises will absolutely fuck you up. And
Hmm.
if you have reps in reserve in mind, and maybe you don't go balls to the wall training to failure, you can kind of create a really cohesive mesocycle that flows over time and gets you good results. Yeah, great in theory, but not everyone can do it well in practice. So I would say if you're a beginner, just go out and train hard. If you've trained for like 3, 4 years, it's something to start considering.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I personally don't really use them, just because I don't like the idea of like really pulling back. And the only reason is it's like if I want to pull back, I just won't train. Like I'll just take a day off. If I
Mm-hmm.
need it that bad, I'll just take a day off. But in the same sense, there are certain times that I would use it. Like if I'm, so for me, like I have shoulder issues. So whenever I do like a chest day, my first exercise, I'll almost always leave just a little bit in the tank because it's like if I'm doing a chest press, like a machine chest press, and I'm just going balls to the wall on the first exercise, chances are like I'm not warmed up yet. Like I'll get there, but I'm not warmed up yet, and I'm just putting myself at a risk for injury. But after that, eh, like I just I think it's such a difficult thing to gauge for most people that it's like you're almost overthinking it too much. And I think, and you could probably agree with this, if you tell somebody to leave something in the tank, a lot of the times what you said, like say you say, okay, 2 to 3 reps in reserve, you can watch their set and you're like, dude, what the fuck? That was like 10, maybe more. Like if you if you get like somebody people don't understand like if you do like 1 to 2 reps in reserve, you should get off the machine or whatever you're doing and you should be like, holy shit, like that almost got me. There's no way that you're doing 1 to 2 reps in reserve and you're just getting off and you're like, I'm good. Like that's just I think it's
Mm-hmm.
such a difficult thing for people to gauge. And it's like you also look at like the people that haven't trained reps in reserve in the past, and the proof's kind of in the pudding. Like they're gigantic. Now, granted, there's other things that go into that, but it's like you'll almost never see a video where somebody like Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates is like, "Yeah, we're just gonna leave a few in the tank on this one, and maybe we'll get it next week." Like, no, like they were ripping through that. So that's just kind of my thought process on it. And again, I understand them and I understand why they can be used, but I do think people need to have a better understanding of what 1 to 2 reps in the tank actually means before they go in and try to execute that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically it's I don't want to say it like in a negative way, but it's basically like an impossible argument because of
Oh
the
yeah,
fact that there's so many hypotheticals and so many people don't know how to utilize it correctly. So, I mean, I think if you're looking for a way to really track your training, really try to get like data points, like it takes a certain mindset of like if you really want to be like fucking objective about stuff, um, really like beating the logbook as they say, like in a and you can beat the logbook going like strictly progressive overload, not having to put this thought into it. But like if you want to really take your training to like the quote unquote next level of like scientific understanding, I say
hmm
look into it. You can still make great progress if you never worry about it. So
right, yeah, and I also think too it depends on what your goal is. Like if you're doing a powerlifting, scheme, then yeah, you should definitely use reps in reserve because if you're
yep.
just killing yourself every week, good luck trying to move up
Yep.
in weight.
Yeah, dude. Strength especially. And there's a lot of which it's very counterintuitive, but if you train a couple reps shy of failure, your strength adaptations can actually do better, whereas like with hypertrophy it does definitely help more to push closer to failure. So yeah, dude, that's a
Right.
good question. Whoever gave you that one, they're fucking a real one.
We'll never know.
Yeah, they never do tell you. I mean, sometimes people do tell me like, oh, that was me. I was like, oh, sick. But like if it's one that's edgy, they'll never fucking tell you.
No, absolutely not.
I'll go for my next. And the way I talked about this on a post real quick today, but the question is, what are some definitive moments in your training career over the years and why? So I don't know if you have like one or two that comes to mind. I definitely had one that jumped out at me, maybe two as well. Um, yeah, actually I have two if you have one or two that you want to talk about real quick.
Yeah. So do you mean like training people or my training myself?
Yeah, let's say your training, your personal training.
So I would say my sophomore year in college, which was when I was doing this crazy high volume program that it works, but it's like it's ridiculous. Like there's no reason for it. Like it's absurd. And there was just kind of a moment where it clicked that it was like I don't have to be doing all this to get the same amount of stimulus that, I need. Um, so that was a big one just because it was like, oh, I can do way more with way less. And so that was kind of like an efficiency thing. And then I actually have three. So that was the first one. The second one was when I moved to Columbus and I was training in the original American Barbell and seeing John Meadows train, learning like whenever you see somebody that's like a professional at their craft, seeing like the level that they're at is ridiculous. Like I thought I trained hard and he was like, I don't know, 44 or something like that. Like he was done, being a pro bodybuilder. Obviously he was still training hard, but like you could tell he was not like quite what he used to be, but he was going ballistic. And like that was like just one of those ones where I was like, oh shit. Like I have way more that I could be doing as far as like intensity and stuff like that. So that was a big one. And then honestly, October of no November of 2020 was when I started working with my coach, Dusty Hanshaw, and just kind of realizing that like if you have everything set up and you're just executing day in and day out, yeah, you'll have some bad days here and there. But the more good days that you string across, in that streak, it shows. Like I've made more progress in working with him for 2 years than I did in the first 3 years of my lifting career when I'm supposed to be getting all these newbie gains. And it's mainly just because of like I'm not eating like an asshole for 3 days out of the week, and I'm sticking to all my meals, and I'm getting my gallon of water in. And it's like everybody talks about how like dieting is difficult and like all that stuff. And it's like I don't necessarily think that dieting's difficult. I think the difficulty is doing it for an extended period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
like that was like the more recently the biggest one that just like really clicked with me, and it was just like, okay, I might not be, you know, an extreme genetically gifted person. I might not be extremely strong. I might not like all that stuff, but it's like if I can be consistent with what I'm doing, for an extended period of time, you're gonna get way more out of it than somebody who just goes to the gym a couple days a week, does their thing, goes home. Like so that those were the three big ones were realizing how I could be more efficient, intensity with John Meadows, and then just consistency with Dusty. So
Yeah, dude, that hits like the big pillars. I like it. Um, let's see. The one that I talked about in my post real quick today was one when I was younger. Definitive moment for sure. I had started working out like pretty consistently when I was 15. So this was like, yeah, sophomore year, winter. Went to the YMCA with my dad. Got up to the point where I was like benching my body weight, which was like fucking 145 at the time, and made some great progress. Stayed pretty consistent with it to the spring, and then when summer hit, I started. My uncle owns a concrete company, so that was like my summer jobs growing up. That was fucking hard. Like that was the hardest summer, just with the weather and the actual jobs that we did of any of the summers that I did after that. And I even worked for him randomly one off, and it was just that summer was fucking brutal. So I stopped working out because I was not
you're just
disciplined
getting
as
your
a
ass
kid.
whipped at work.
Yeah, dude, getting my ass whipped by some grown ass men. And then also Black Ops 2 was out, and I was fucking grinding that until like 1 a.m. every day. So I stopped working out that summer, and it was like I went to church camp every summer, and there was this girl, God, still a dime, um, that I always had a crush on. We always had a little fucking fling in the summers. And I was like, I know I'm about to see her. Like, I want to be looking good. So I was like out there like the night before church camp started, just fucking getting a massive pump. And I was like, damn, like I'm not as strong as I used to be. Like I fucking suck. And I was like, I'm never gonna like fall off the wagon again. Never. Never
Mm-hmm.
have. So, another consistency point. Um, Second story would be when I was a participant in a research study at OSU, and I had to squat like 80% of my 1 rep max for 6 sets of 10. And like over the sets, the weight decreased because it's physically impossible. But like I got 3 sets of 10 with 285, like fucking parallel reps, like
Mm-hmm.
oh, that was the worst soreness I've ever felt, the worst work I've ever done, the most pain I've ever been in. And I was like, yeah, that's like training intensity. Like if you really want to get the most out of this shit, like that's what it is. And you definitely don't want to do that all the time, but that was a good lesson in training intensity that absolutely fucked me up. So, good question. Definitive moments that teach you things. We both mentioned consistency and intensity. Efficiency is also very, very important to consider too for all the younger people out there that are maybe haven't learned these lessons yet. So, good question.
I'm just shocked you couldn't pull it together for one day before church camp. You couldn't do it.
Dude, I came in with the fucking most gnarly pump, but then I probably lost it after day two. Hey, it's all good. That one turned
That's
out pretty
good.
good for me over the years.
I was gonna say probably one. All right, let's see what we got. Um, what do you say we do one more training question each, and then if you got any funny ones,
Dude, that's really the only question I got, so it's all you.
all right, I got. You'll like the funny one. Here's a serious one. How would you go about bringing up a weak body part?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
know it's kind of a broad one, but
Yeah, it definitely depends on the body part, I think, because my go-to answer is frequency, increasing frequency. Maybe if it's shoulders, you're going from 2 to 3, even 4 times a week. Like quads, I'd be hard pressed to say you're going to get 4 quality quad sessions in a week. So then you might have to rework things like exercise selection, um, really, really dialing in your uh, technique is a big one that I think people can, if they find they have a lagging body part, oftentimes there's little things you can tweak here and there. If it's like a smaller, uh, which when I say smaller, that's generally means that they can recover quicker, then you just throw more
mhm,
at it. Maybe you work in some intensity techniques, you increase frequency. If it is a bigger muscle group like quads or what I'm working on, I really have to pick the best like stimulus to fatigue. So just like the best bang for your buck exercise. I'm not, I used to love doing back squats because I came from like a powerlifting background, but it's just not what grows my quads the best. So switching those things out for like leg press, Smith machine squat, hack squat is what works best for me. Maybe not quite as frequently because if you're smacking those really challenging things, I don't like to train when I'm like super sore. So
mhm,
that's where frequency can get iffy with
tricky. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's my go-to answers, dude. Do you have any different approaches there?
Yeah, so I kind of go down the line. The first thing I would always look at is your execution and your effort. Um, a lot of people, like, for example, legs, a lot of people hate to train legs. And it's like, well, look at your leg day and look at how you're training. Are you training it the same way that you're training back, where you're going balls to the wall? Are
Mm-hmm.
you training it the same way you're training arms, where you're just trying to get that nasty pump and you're in there for like 3 hours doing curls and stuff? A lot of people, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I squatted today. And it's like, yeah, but you're not even sweating. It's leg day. Like, that's a crime. Like, that's a problem. So I would always look at effort first, execution would be second. If it is, say quads and you're trying to get as much knee flexion as you can on certain movements, stuff like that. Then I would look at exercise selection, finding stuff that works for you. Like you said, like back squats probably doesn't grow your quads the same way it would for, somebody that's 5'6". For me, back squats just grows my ass. That's the only thing that grows.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would look at frequency as kind of, for me, my last thing. But with that, I would also say having to manage volume within that. So, for example, if I'm doing 12 sets for quads in a week and I want to up that, I need to pull something back in some other areas, especially if it's a bigger body part. So if I'm doing, let's just use the number 12, for example, if I'm doing 12 sets of quad, 12 sets for back, 12 sets of everything, maybe I pull back 3 sets on back and
Mm.
2 sets on chest and keep my volume in arms and shoulders the same. It
That's a
may
good
not
point.
seem like it's going to play a big difference, but it's like, if you do 24 sets for legs in a week and you're used to doing 12, you're going to be smoked. Like, and then your other training is going to suffer too. So your legs aren't going to grow, your other body parts aren't going to grow. It's kind of like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So those are kind of the things that I kind of run down. And then if you're not able to get it going from there, you need to eat more.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another thing is people are like, oh, well,